My wife thought she destroyed me by taking 50% of everything I owned during the divorce. She had no idea I had been hiding my millions in my mother's name for 5 years. Sarah stood in the middle of our modern living room, holding the final court papers with a smirk that could cut glass. She looked at me like I was a piece of trash she was finally throwing out of her life. For 5 years, she had been treating our marriage like a business merger, carefully calculating when it would be most profitable for her to cash out. I knew she was drifting away, but instead of fighting, I chose to play a much quieter, deadlier game. When the judge granted her half of my recorded assets, Sarah thought she had won the jackpot and walked away with a multi-million-dollar mansion and all my bank accounts. She didn't even look back as she drove away in her brand new sports car, believing I was left completely ruined and broken. The truth was, I had anticipated this exact moment years ago, watching the subtle changes in her eyes and the way she checked bank balances behind my back. That quiet realization became my survival mechanism, pushing me to secure my true wealth before she could ever touch it. Every single penny of my software company's stealth profits was legally transferred into a secure, protected account tied to my elderly mother's name. To the legal system and to Sarah, I was a man living paycheck to paycheck, while my real empire remained completely invisible. My mother lived in a modest, quiet suburban house, far away from the flashing lights and luxury Sarah desperately craved. That old brick house became the hidden vault where my future was safely locked away, untouched by greedy hands and bitter court battles. On the morning of the final settlement, Sarah wore her most expensive designer dress, radiating pure arrogance as she faced the media outside the courthouse. She loved the spotlight, especially when she thought she was destroying the man who had given her everything. When the judge's hammer came down, sealing the transfer of my supposed assets to her name, she could barely hide her triumphant grin. She leaned over to her high-priced lawyer and whispered something that looked dangerously close to a laugh of pure greed. I kept my head down, playing the part of the defeated, pathetic ex-husband who had lost his life savings in a single afternoon. I let them believe they had crushed me, because in the art of war, the greatest advantage is making your enemy underestimate you completely. 2 days later, Sarah decided to liquidate my primary business bank account to fund her immediate shopping spree with her new boyfriend. She marched into the downtown branch of our bank with absolute confidence, expecting a massive transfer of funds into her personal account. The bank teller stared at the computer screen for an unusually long time, her eyebrows furrowing with deep confusion. She typed something rapidly, her fingers clicking against the keyboard, while Sarah tapped her designer nails impatiently on the counter. "I am sorry, ma'am," the teller finally said, her voice completely polite but firm. "The account balance is currently 0. In fact, it was closed 3 days ago." Sarah's smile vanished instantly, replaced by a cold wave of panic as she demanded to speak with the branch manager immediately. The manager walked out, adjusted his glasses, and calmly confirmed that the account she legally claimed in the divorce had been inactive and empty for years. She pulled out the court documents, pointing frantically at the papers that guaranteed her half of my declared wealth. The manager just looked at her with pity, explaining gently that a court order cannot distribute money that simply does not exist in those specific files. Panic finally set in, her face turning pale as she realized the multi-million-dollar mansion she just inherited came with massive mortgage debts and 0 liquid cash. She had spent thousands on legal fees to steal an empty shell, completely outsmarted by a man she thought she had manipulated. Meanwhile, I was sitting across town at my mother's wooden kitchen table, drinking hot coffee and looking out at the peaceful garden. My mother smiled at me, pouring another cup while sliding the legal paperwork of our new hidden corporation across the table. My phone started buzzing violently on the table with missed calls from Sarah, her voice cracking with sheer desperation in the voicemail messages. She was screaming, demanding to know where the money was, threatening me with police and jail time for hiding assets. I calmly picked up the phone, blocked her number permanently, and tossed the device onto the sofa without a single ounce of regret. She wanted a business transaction instead of a marriage, so I simply closed the account and left her bankrupt by her own greed. True intelligence isn't about shouting the loudest or fighting dirty in public when someone betrays your trust. It's about staying 3 steps ahead in absolute silence, letting time and clever strategy expose the true nature of selfish people. Sarah learned her lesson the hardest way possible. Never underestimate a quiet man who has already planned his escape route. As for me, my empire is safe, my mother is smiling, and I am finally free to start a brand new chapter on my own terms.